at it again here in Montreal, Canada for the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. Ladies and gentlemen, we are making our way downtown in this round of 16, walking fast, but maybe not fast enough. We've got some really close ones.
A few faces have passed.
A few faces have passed, but we are homebound to that championship at BlizzCon. Let's see who's going to make it. I'm Nathaniel, joined on the desk by Fear Dragon and Pig. Pig, a fellow lyrical god. How are you feeling today? How are you enjoying these matches?
I'm feeling great, you know. I feel like I'm just in the back seat of my car with a couple of buddies. We're singing some Vanessa Carlton together. It's great to connect with you on this as well as StarCraft, Nathaniel.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that, Fear Dragon. The camaraderie that brings us together, the fellow love, and the passion for the game.
I mean, nothing brings people together like ZvZ. And that's what we're going to be moving into next.
Thank you for the dynamite analysis, Fear Dragon. Pig, a known closet fan of ZvZ.
I do like the odd roach battle. It does, yeah, it gets me a little bit excited to see the players and how they manage their concaves and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, it is going to be a good match. You know, Zanster versus Lambo. It's going to be action-packed. It's going to be exciting. Yeah. And I think it's cool because at the first half of this year, I kept saying Zanster's going to do really well in this tournament. And he kept kind of having these bomb-out performances.
It's been tough for him.
Yeah, but I mean, he's knocked a laser out of this tournament. He's had a few really good matches so far. So sometimes there's a delay between a player playing very well and then really starting to deliver those results that they've been hyped up about, you know, kind of living up to for a while.
Yep, Zanster, I mean, one of the players, like you said, that we talked a lot about last year, has not really stepped up this year. The story has been mostly, of course, we talk about Zerg's Cyril, but a laser. And he's in the weird spot right now as far as WCS standings go, Fear Dragon.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this one goes because, yeah, he did have a really good series versus Zanster. He also ended up losing a series earlier on, I think, versus Cham. And these two guys have actually played at WCS Austin earlier this year. And Lambo actually ended up taking that one. So it's kind of like, we'll have to see. I'm sort of impressed with Zanster at this performance today, but I really want to be able to see him take this one too.
Yeah, and you know, I think another really cool thing, Lambo, he not only had a couple of great matches yesterday, but, you know, we got to see him take out Kelazur. And, you know, it was questionable about how much, you know, preparation of his practice he's been putting in. But Lambo also did extremely well at the WCS Challenger Europe. And he did a really good job, got all the way to the finals, took 2 maps in a row off of Cyril. And then Cyril's like, well, I don't like to lose. So he got to experience that grim reality once again. But looked really sharp the whole way through.
He's one of the best Zerg vs. Zerg players right now. I don't think any Zerg player going up against Lambo is happy with that matchup. I think he's a product of competing for so many years in the European region is you eventually get very, very good at Zerg. But he especially, I feel like, is a Zerg vs. Zerg expert. We've seen him kind of streaming a little bit, and he kind of shares his analysis. And he's also very critical of other players Zerg vs. Zerg. You know, we talk about Lambo as this very confident, and in the past years, overconfident player. But he's just like, no, I think a lot of people are playing Zerg vs. Zerg wrong. I know what I'm doing in this matchup, and I'm really good at it. And we saw that, you know, also when he faced off against Cyril in the semifinals of WCS Austin earlier this year. He was looking really good, and it was kind of like Cyril just barely edging him out in these games. So I think Lambo's a big favorite going into this one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Lambo's just been looking so super solid lately.
Yeah, I have to agree, being able to see him like that. So what does Zanster have to do then? What's our X factor when we talk about this match? Do the maps give him some sort of leeway, or is ZvZ just too straightforward? I feel like that's usually what we end up saying is, in Zerg vs. Zerg, there's only so much you can try to do. It's
so weird, isn't it? Because sometimes you'll see series where that's absolutely the case, but then you'll have someone like, you know, maybe Scarlet at Pyeongchang or something where she's doing upgraded Ling builds. You've got someone like Raynor who's rushing out Mutalisks and doing these crazy Ling counters all game. I think it comes down to the style of the players, and Zanster in the past has alternated between the most standard play and some very creative stuff. So it really depends what he wants to bring to the table.
All right, we're going to bring the players out onto the stage now. Smix, I know you're a huge fan of ZvZ, ready to get back into it?
Exactly, I'm just a fan of every matchup that there is. But I'm very excited. Our next matchup is between Germany and Sweden. So without further ado, let's bring them out onto the stage. It is Lambo and Zanster.
And there we have our players head over to their PCs to play the most competitive 1-versus-1 game on Earth, gentlemen. And it's Zerg versus Zerg. Lambo, a player who has been heating up Lots of discussion around him. Great playing challenger. Zanster, he's one of our players that's, you know, if he gets the upset here, we're like, okay, well, he still has a huge road to go if he wants to make his way to the global finals. He has to win the whole thing. It's a deep ball scenario, Pig.
It's definitely one of those things where, like, well, technically,
Theoretically, if he beats all the best players in the world.
if he beats everybody, then yes, he gets the locked-in spot because the first player winner always gets the spot. It's a long way off from this stage here in the round of 16. It is technically possible. Whereas, you know, Lambo, of course, just needs a very deep finish. I believe it's finals for Lambo, or is it top 4? I'm not 100% sure. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, it might be actually second place, I think, but we'll have to double check on that. But yeah, the thing is, I think at least for Zanster, even ignoring like the BlizzCon finals and everything like that, for Zanster, he's just had so much hype around him in the past from certain players, and they never really lived up to it. The hype kind of died down. And even just getting a big performance here, I think it's going to do a lot for his motivation.
Yeah, a big performance by Zanster here can also end up maybe saving our boy a laser. We were talking about points, players that need to win or lose for him to get out. So Zanster, let's see if he can save his buddy's life. We've got him going up in our next match. It's time for Zanster versus Lambo.
All right, it's a ZvZ. I am Zombie Webcasting with Rotterdam to bring you the action. Are you excited for some ZvZ, Roddy?
I'm really excited. I love both these guys. They're great friends. They know a lot about each other, and obviously this is a very big series for both of them. So I really think this is going to be a fun, exciting best of 5. It should be a close one as well. In the right bottom side of Fracture, we're looking at the main base of our German Zerg. Make some noise for Lambo.
In the top left, as the red Zerg for Room Gaming, he is Zanster.
Zanster is a really interesting player to follow over the last few years, because I think the best performance that Zanster has ever had was in 2015. WCS Season 3, where he made it all the way to the semifinals. He back then lost against Lilbao. Of course, Lilbao ended up winning that tournament. But that really was what we thought a breakthrough performance. We're like, all right, Zanster is no longer one of the many Zergs in Europe. He's really establishing himself as one of the top tier players in Europe. But then it became just very inconsistent again. Sometimes he bums out in the early group stages. He will make a round of 32 every now and then. But it's been a while since we saw Zanster in this phase of the tournament. Of course, Zanster got here, perhaps ironically, by defeating Elaser. That's a victory that I really didn't see coming. That's, of course, a teammate of Lambo as well. And now, of course, this series has big implications. Because if Lambo wins this series, he officially has more WCS points than Elaser. That doesn't mean that Lambo is locked in for the top 8, because he could still drop out as well. But that obviously means that it's the end for Elaser.
It is really funny. Like Zanster, you know, kind of screwed up Elaser's chances, but if he also takes out Lambo, then Elaser is like still holding on.
Yes.
Just barely though. Yeah. Yeah. Zanster, he has a couple of good ZvZ performances, like taking out Elaser, even though like Elaser had another bad performance as well this year. It's still definitely a feat. I think, you know, that is just maybe one kind of weird reality, and that otherwise Lambo is going to be the better ZvZer, but ZvZ is that matchup where both these guys are very, very good. We do have a bit of a tuffle. They both open up it slightly differently. Zanster had to pull a couple of drones to help out to make sure, but Lambo's not committing to any more lings behind this, so that actually was not so bad, but oh, wow. I mean, didn't really get to talk about the map quite yet, but Fracture, the smallest map in the map pool. I mean, I was kind of surprised to see this like high-octane map, from the get-go. But going for a Roach Warren on 2 bases, that's just not what you usually see in these pro games, and they want to do something aggressive. That's more like a, on GM ladder type move. So this is going to be really surprising.
Yeah, I think this is one of those maps where if you can squeeze out a quick +1 missile attacks and get a bunch of roaches to go to the other side of the map, then obviously if Lambo would have been investing in a Baneling Nest and a whole bunch of Zerglings, there is a chance that this is not very effective anymore. Now Lambo does fire up 12 additional lings while the first roaches are on the way for Zanster already. There's a good chance that we don't see these players stack up very quickly either. This is not one of those maps where you go for a very quick lair and you just kind of sit back. No, often there is a lot of back and forth early on, and players are very eager to just take each other down and take a quick 1-0 lead.
If this is going to be like, the macro, just, faster roaches, slower third base, then usually that roach goes in the front, but he is going to go ahead and make drones beyond those roaches. So Lambo is, of course, flooding here with a ton of lings behind this, getting +1 missile, prepared to go into the roaches, now sees that Zanster has the roaches, and doesn't look like he's going to commit anymore. Zanster is going to go for the lair, so he might have hidden the roach warren, but we're actually not getting anything too serious. They both had to sacrifice a bit of workers, but Lambo is the one trying to catch up now.
I love that wall up with the roaches, though. I mean, that's a really cool wall, right? It's going to be very tough for Lynx to get in there. As now he's going to make some more room, but obviously there's still no chance for all of these Lynx to be effective. If I'm Zanster, I'm actually quite pleased with how this is playing out, because obviously Lambo wasn't too hatcheries for quite some time. Lambo made a lot of Lynx, but these Lynx, especially when +1 missile attacks is done, they are not going to be that effective anymore. Now Lambo is going for carapace on the other side of the map, but I think the most interesting fact about this very tiny map is that both players have somehow skipped the bailing nest.
Well, yeah, that's kind of interesting for sure. I mean, Lambo, he made a bunch of lings. It's possible he was going to meet Zanster's own lings, but very quickly realizing, okay, hey, we can just skip that kind of part. He's still going to be able to contain Zanster. That's kind of the trick when you go for the roaches. It might be a little more difficult to get that third base, and if one snipe turns into two snipes, suddenly you're just like kind of an all-in position with your roaches. But Lambo did notably cancel +1 missile, so a bit of a change of mind as he goes into the carapace, and I wonder why. I mean, +1 missile is so common if you're going to be going into the roach versus roach game, but I think he might have a little bit.
I think it's just because he has all these links out already and he wants to get some value out of them. And I guess if he feels that he goes into +1 missile attacks as well, he made all those links for nothing, and he may just feel that these links will never accomplish anything. And if he goes for carapace, obviously the roaches benefit from it, but it makes those links a lot more valuable as well. So I guess that's the thought process.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of roaches. They're both at even workers right now, but Zanster already with a lair, roach speed on the way. Lambo's getting a ton of overlords. You got the Ravagers on the way too. Zanster does not have much scouting, by the way. Lambo's been on his side of the map the entire time.
And Lambo's never tacked up, has he?
No, he has. This is turning into an all-in, and Zanster does not realize exactly what's going on. Of course, he probably assumes that there might be +1 missile on the way, but not necessarily carapace. He's more worried about saving the third base from snipes than perhaps he is about Lambo making nothing but units right now. And he's actually going to go engage these links, could snipe the third, and then probably come back and help out, or just come up back.
Yeah, I think he should go flank. If I'm Lambo here, I'm not going for a base. No, I want to clean up this army, because Zanster is misreading this. Zanster feels like he should be aggressive. Now Lambo is coming in from both sides, kind of messes up the surround a tiny bit, but this should still always be a very good fight for Lambo.
This is very nice. As Lambo is able to get some really good surrounds, stall out the roaches, and Zanster does have a lot more reinforcements on the way. I don't think he was expecting this many roaches. The Ravagers already being made as well. There's still a lot of lings here with that +1 carapace living on as they get more surrounds. As Zanster is going to try and retreat. He does have that roach speed, something Lambo does not, but Fracture is such a small map. If he's going to have to retreat, Lambo's going to continue to push.
Yeah, that was a little sloppy by Zanster. There was absolutely no need for him to move out. Now, that's a good surround there in the end. I think Lambo was a tiny bit sloppy with the surrounds before, but getting those last 4 or 5 roaches, that is massive. He's going to morph the other roaches into Ravagers, and he's going to show up here with a good old Ling Ravager composition. And I have no idea how Zanster is going to defend this, because he simply doesn't have the numbers.
At this point, I don't think it's possible. Perhaps if he was able to realize, okay, that's what you're doing, and just have all of his roaches defensively back at home, it's a very different story. But being surrounded, having to, segment his army, his reinforcements, it all has not worked out here. He's pushed back into his natural. That +2 is never going to finish, as this game is going to be ended soon.
A simple overseer really could have changed this entirety of the game. Like if Zanster would have flown one overseer into the main base of Lambo, and he would have seen that Lambo never tacked up, he should have realized that Lambo is the one who had to attack, not Zanster. But obviously Lambo looked at it, analyzed the situation, and said, "Vielen Dank, meine Freund." Collapsed on that army, cleaned it up, ran to the other side of the map and won. Good game there by Lambo. I feel that's a very Lambo-like game, a very Elazer-like game. Obviously, I think Elazer and Lambo are very similar in the way that they like to approach the matchup. They're both incredibly decisive and have a lot of all-in attacks, and this is one of them, and it worked.
Yeah, that was such a cool move to get the +1 carapace too. That split-second decision to actually utilize. What is he? Is he in a muffin?
Yeah, I think it's a muffin.
He realized, there's an opportunity to use these lings for more than just sniping a third base. And, very typically when we see the roach attack, without the lair, we do see the ling flood afterwards. So not only do you have already 20, 24 lings ready to benefit from the +1 carapace, you're going to be reinforcing with more. So that was a really cool move, but I think definitely it was Zanster's misread of the game.
Yep.
Really not any scouting.
A simple overseer, honestly. If he flies one overseer over the main base and the natural of Lambo, and he's like, whoa, you don't have a lair? That means you have to attack me. That means I can just sit back. And obviously on a map like Fracture, it is very nice to sit on top of those ramps as well. This was just the worst case scenario. Zanster felt probably that Lambo was trying to play catch up because he made all those links, and maybe tried to feel that his opponent was trying to economically recover, but that was not the case at all. So just a little bit sloppy there by Zanster, but great killer instinct by Lambo. That was, once again, that ZvZ had Clash written all over it. Like, that's the most Elaser Lambo kind of game that you can imagine.
I feel like also it's like the Overseer even seeing that the Ravagers are already prepared, you know, like he sends a Ling forward before he sends the Roaches to the middle of the map, and it's so different. As it wasn't like this was a situation where Lambo was building up that typical all-in against a player who was going up to 55 drones, and that's why you typically see that key to victory. No, it's because it was the army was out of position and not all combined, but they're actually on similar drone counts and they were getting to similar army types. But that's game number 1 in Lambo's pockets. Some chatter going on, asking for free wins, jokingly in the chat. As I think Zanster knows ZvZ is going to be tough against Lambo. Lambo's looking to kind of get some revenge about his Valencia performance, and he's looking quite good in Montreal.
No, absolutely. Obviously, Austin was fantastic for the German Zerg. That was probably the best performance out of his entire career. And that wasn't a one-time thing, because he followed it up with a great performance at Home Story Cup as well. He was the highest placing non-Korean in that tournament, and that was only a month and a half ago as well. It's just Valencia went terribly wrong. Challenger was good, like he said. Home Story Cup was great. Austin was phenomenal. Valencia was a disaster. Forget about it. So far, he's looking really, really good over here in Montreal.
All right, he is up 1-0 in the bottom right as the Blue Zerg for Clash. He's Lambo.
Fighting for more than just prize money at this event, obviously is incredibly eager to potentially make it to the global finals. This man can still do that as well, but he needs to win the entire tournament. There's no other way for him to get there. He is from Sweden. It is Zanster. Of course, representing Storm Gaming. You know, there is a small little fun fact about Zanster.
Okay.
I have been casting the European competition, the Clash StarCraft 2 Invitational. In that league, Zero is 6-0 in best of 5s. He's 18-1 in maps. But he did drop one map, and the one map he dropped was against Zanster.
Oh.
So Zanster is the only one to take a map of Zero in that league.
Yeah, Lambo, who's recently in ZvZ, took a map off of Zero too.
Yep,
The Challenger, I believe.
And he had the potential to do a lot more than just a single map as well, right?
I think so, yeah.
You were casting those games, but I think we all seen the clip on 16-bit where the numbers are definitely in favor of our German Zerg, but Cyril just doing Cyril things.
Yeah.
We've seen some interesting snacks today on stage. I mean, Jon Snow was eating lettuce and broccoli, I believe it was.
Is that really?
Yes, he was snacking on lettuce. He is a very healthy snacker. And then we've got a European Zerg eating chocolate brownies on stage. Like,
Guess you gotta. I mean, I guess these guys are practicing from the get-go. We walked into the stadium, and actually, Cyril was already practicing.
Cyril never left, actually. He was.
He never left. He never left. He never ate.
They handed him the keys last night at 1 a.m. They're like, "You're pulling an all-nighter." He's like, "Yes." So he just got the keys to the stadium, and then he opened the doors this morning.
Yeah, exactly.
He does those things, make sure that everything is all right.
Yeah, exactly. You take that famous picture of like Boxer doing it at MLG, and you just you crop him out, and you put Cyril right in there.
No, if you sneak into this place at 4 a.m., Cyril's there.
Yeah. Anyway, so these guys open up pretty similar. I think there's like drone differences, like literally one drone of difference. So they're both going to go for speed too. There's actually quite a few maps I feel that you can go for that wall off with the Roach Warren and Evolution Chamber. I felt like Zanster was playing a little bit of his own kind of sneaky game by putting the Roach Warren in the main base, because otherwise he would have had like a really easy wall on Fracture. But they're actually both going for thirds, so it's kind of the question of who makes those 10, 16 lings, however many they want to test the hatchery, or is there a gentleman's agreement to even not make a baneling nest?
Yeah, exactly. This is also a map where I do see these European Zergs quite often skip the baneling nest. Now, of course, it feels risky, and it's always a risky maneuver, but it can give you that tiny advantage once it goes into the roach phase. But obviously, if your opponent picks up on it, scouts it on time, makes a bunch of lings, and then attacks you with Ling Bane, and you have to defend with just Queens, Lings, and you have a couple roaches in production, but they're not there yet, that is a very, very risky call to make. Lambo is going going to be our first player to make a lot of links, while Zanster is actually making more and more drones.
Yeah, that could be a mistake. Now, he's the one that gets on top of Lambo's side of the map first, so he'll, he's going to try and see it with the Overlord anyways. But you know what? Zanster, we talked about his lack of scouting last game. I guess he has this Overlord over here, but doesn't see the Lings until just now as they run forward. So he's already fit in 7 more drones here, and it's a question of can he survive. Losing 2 here.
That's awesome for Lambo.
Doesn't have a lot of larva.
Yeah, I'll gladly trade out 4 Zerglings for 2 drones in this phase in the game. I think that was an excellent start for Lambo. Now, Bailing Nests are on both sides, so neither player is really going to have a big advantage in that regard. But he's going to be able to get a wraparound around this hatchery. And I don't know if Zanster has the units out yet to keep this hatchery alive. He is morphing a lot of Bailings as well defensively. If the Queens are a little bit out of position, this hatch is taking a lot of damage.
He's been at half the Ling count of Lambo for quite some time, and he's not going to be able to save that 3rd base. I feel like you got to just try and... You're already making Lings as you realize you need them a little bit late. So you're going to have to try and just counter, but Lambo did not skip his Baneling as foolishly. He's not even skipping making Banelings. He has them defensively. He's going on the Roach more and a little bit of a wall here, too. I don't believe Zanster can recoup these losses by just doing the same thing to Lambo. He's going to have to just deal with it, make his drones, and try and rebuild his hatchery.
Yeah, this is extra bad. Every now and then we see a player lose his 3rd hatchery, but that also means that they had an economic advantage. They had way more drones, or maybe they skipped the Bailing Nest, they made less links. That's not the case. Zanster tried to save it, but he was simply way too late, and he lost a couple of drones. He might end up losing a few more here, as these links are going to run into the main base as well. This is a disastrous game for Zanster so far.
Yeah, there's not even going to be an attempt to go across the map, as Lambo is freely moving on the ZvZ. He's going to be able to escape with the December Flings. Now actually gets trapped around that wall. Not even going to go for the last second scouts, as there is an evolution shape right now, but Lambo still has more Lings. He's making Roaches right now. He's actually not teching up. He's even have an evolution chamber, so he may just be going for the kill.
I mean, I like the idea of not teching up here. Why would he tech up? Now, there are a couple of Bailings that are going to run into the natural, but Roaches do spawn. Is Zanster going to get at least something here? Very, very little. I think that was a single drone that he got there in the end. That's obviously not what our Swedish Zerg was hoping for. Bailing connections on the other side of the map as well. Damn, what a game from Lambo. A flawless performance out of our German Zerg. But for Zanster, this is a very painful one.
Yeah, Zanster doesn't even... He saw the Roaches, I suppose, but he knew it was game. Once he lost that 3rd, he couldn't do anything about it. He wasn't ahead in those drones you're talking about. And he is struggling against Lambo.
Lambo looking mighty fine so far here in Montreal, and he knows that he's 1 map away now from at least temporarily entering the top 8 of the WCS standings. Once again, if Lambo wins here, that doesn't mean that he's guaranteed to go to those global finals. He will not go to BlizzCon yet, but he keeps his hopes and dreams alive, and at least he puts himself in the top 8 for now. So obviously a very, very big moment for him. And he looked mighty fine there in that 2nd game. He just played better. He played better in every phase of the game.
Yeah, he's reading into Zanster so well. Now that was a situation where Zanster did make drones at the exact wrong time and he didn't have enough larva to immediately respond. Because it really was, I think that was the difference. Like, he saw the Lings, and if he had 10 larva, he has enough to actually combat the 3rd. It loses some health, true, but it doesn't actually get lost, and it's the seconds differences. But
I felt he was indecisive as well, though, because he had Lings and he had Queens, but he kept the Queens very, very defensively, almost in fear of losing them. But if you make that amount of units and you have a Bailing Nest, at that point, whether or not you should defend the hatchery is not a choice, it's a must. You have to keep that hatch alive, because he already lost a drone or 2 against just Lings, and he's making all those units. He's putting all of his resources in defending that hatchery, but then he was still indecisive on whether or not he should have had. But at that point, I feel you're digging your own grave, because it's a lose-lose.
I wonder if that was a situation where you thought like 8 Lings were about to pop, and you're like, well, then I'll go. And then you're like 5 seconds, you're like, well, where are they?
That's what it felt like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're probably right about that. As he did, kind of waver around, and then when he did decide to commit, he still didn't have those Lings. It was just a little bit too late.
And that's rough, because Zanster obviously knew that in game 1 things were not going bad for him at all. He had a solid start. All he needed to do was scout a little bit better. You can be like, I'll shake it off. That's just the first game in the best of 5. But his 2nd game, that was a beatdown. That was an awesome performance from Lambo. Every single thing that Lambo planned in that game just went his way. It really felt that was a chain of events of minor victory, big victory, game over. Like, those are the most awesome games to play, because you could see the smile on Lambo's face as well. He's like, damn, I'm good. I'm on fire right now.
Yeah. Those are going to be game number 3. I believe it's going to be on Cerulean Falls. Yes, it is. In the top right, he needs one more game to take the series and advance on, keep his BlizzCon hopes alive. It is the blue Zerg Lambo.
What a year it's been for him so far. Over here on the left bottom side, representing Storm Gaming, it is our Swedish Zerg player, Zanster.
Keep Zanster's, hope alive for you. Just count him out after 2 dominant games from Lambo. He did first in this group lose to a laser, I believe 2-0, and then he was able to bring it back. If he's learning during these 2 games, I mean, it feels like there's things he should have learned, just playing ladder ZvZ, but if he's learning, then there's a chance that he still takes a game here, continues on, get a bit of a break after, before we go into the game 4, and then maybe there's a chance, but really Lambo seems so confident. I mean, I know you've talked about this on the desk, that Lambo is just a confident guy.
No, he's one of the most confident guys. He's maybe the most confident guy in the circuit. I think of someone else that's confident, I would say a U-Turmo is in general very confident in his own ability as well. If he's feeling it, that is. But Lambo is one of the guys that's always feeling it. But that's good. I love it, I love guys that go into a tournament by saying, I actually think I can take everyone. Obviously, Cero will stop. Cero, I will be the underdog. But against everybody else, I really feel like I've got a good shot. And what I love as well is, if you try to analyze Lambo, how do you describe him? He's a pretty complete Zerg player.
Yeah.
He's very unpredictable. That doesn't necessarily mean cheesy or all-in, even though he has plenty of those builds. But he's also very comfortable in longer macro games. He is good when it comes to high-tech play. I think he's a very, very scary opponent for anyone in a ZvZ best of 5.
That is a good question. He's been a smart player about improving. He never got pigeonholed into being the macro player who tries cheesing but is ultimately the worse for it, or vice versa. He actually does everything at a pretty good standard right now, and he's also been very smart about preparing for this tournament. Even though he's been streaming a lot, he'll keep his important strats to himself. And I mean, it's working out really well as it continues on here. Looking to be in the round of 8 of, if he does advance, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, if he does advance, he will be facing either DNS or Showtime, ZVP, and that I believe is his best matchup.
Yeah,
so that would be pretty good.
I think that's something that he would be very, very fond of as well. Now, I must say I am incredibly excited about our upcoming match as well, guys, here. It's going to be DNS versus Showtime. DNS really outperforming my expectations, and this screams Nidus, by the way, to me. This must be a Nidus build. Lambo loves his Nidus builds as well. So he's obviously being a little bit cheeky, he's being a little bit cheesy here. Some people might say, this could still be Mudas, but I feel like this is almost too fast of a lair for Mudas.
Zanster's problem this game has been definitely some scouting issues. But that, of course, it wouldn't scout with a lair. He's never even really tried getting lings into his main base, which when you see the wall off the Lambo's doing, there really are there's the macro option. This doesn't scream Nidus Worm unless you get in there and you see the gases, you see the actual Nidus Worm, you see the amount of roaches, or maybe even the amount of queens. But this, if he sends a ling, which he hasn't done, he won't have any idea. And as it is right now, okay, there come 2 lings. He is going to go ahead and cancel
Ling speed.
Ling speed variant. He doesn't need it. But unless he makes roaches at the same time Lambo does, basically, it's going to be very difficult.
No, Lambo is getting +1 missile attacks as well. This could be a fake every now and then. Sometimes they cancel that. It's like Zanster wants... Lambo wants Zanster to scout this, but now he sees all these gases, and I only assume that Zanster is well, nobody needs that much gas that early on.
Okay, yeah, that was a bit of a mistake to let him in there, but the Nidus Worm, it wasn't scouted.
And you can see he canceled +1 missile attacks, by the way, immediately.
Yeah, he just wanted to show the little wiggly jiggly. Almost was able to kind of purely hide this, but how does Zanster...
Nothing but roaches. You make nothing but roaches.
If he does it when these overlords pop, then he's just, he completely missed a golden opportunity. Okay, there they are there. I mean, maybe even cancel the +1 if you really want to try and defend.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. I think what's going to be very important here for Zanster is to get on top of this Nidus as quickly as possible. I don't think you should wait, because this Nidus is in the middle of 3 hatcheries. That means those units are going to pop from every angle. Zanster, I really think the sooner you go on it, the better. I think if he waits, he makes a mistake.
He is up by 10 drones, so he can lose a few if he has to pull them.
Drones.
No, he didn't pull the drones. The queens pop out. They don't even need a chance to use the Nidus Worm. They're going to go into that natural. They see where most of the army is going to try and jump on it before it's too big, and this might still work out for Lambo.
Yeah, I'm very worried for Zanster here, because his units are going to come from different angles as well. 12 drones go down immediately. Now, that is an amount that he was okay losing. The problem is all of the units of Lambo are here now, while Zanster's units are coming in from the north. They're coming in from the west side there as well. I'm afraid that this is not going very well for the Swedish Zerg.
Yeah, unfortunately, even getting that little bit of a scout he wasn't supposed to, still was unable to defend this. The Nidus Swarm does go down, but there's another one already here, and Lambo's going to be happy being up 10 workers. He hasn't killed a hatchery, that's true, and he's starting to lose out on his army. His queens are out of transfuses. Maybe there's a hold, but it's still not a very good situation for our Red Zerg.
Nope, and he's probably going to end up losing a few more drones here as well,
Yeah.
if not just the game. Man, Lambo, so decisive, so much killer instinct in this series. It was short and sweet for him, but I think the German Zerg has done it. He is going to advance to the quarterfinals of WCS Montreal, and that is an amazing run for him already. GG. Congratulations to Lambo, who is now officially in the top 8. But of course, he could still potentially drop out.
Yeah, it's still going to be a very hard tournament, but his next matchup will be against a Protoss. Guaranteed a very good matchup for him, so he should be feeling quite confident. If he wasn't already, as you talk about, I'm going to go shake hands. I think he knew he was in a good position, and that third game, just very decisive with the Nidus Worm. Knew he could end it. Worked out beautifully, and now I believe we're going to have his own thoughts on the series and perhaps his next match up on the stage with Smix.
Thank you very much, Zombie Girl. Congratulations, Lambo. You're in the quarterfinals once again this year, the first time, of course, being back in Austin. I know after that event, you talked about how Valencia was a disappointment. You promised us that this event would go differently, and so far, you're keeping your promise. You're back in that top 8, so how does that feel for you?
It feels really good. Right now, I'm just really cheering for Denver. But yeah, it just feels awesome again. I can't be as happy yet because for me the goal is to make BlizzCon, so I need to wait for the other results, but yeah, feels good so far.
I know yesterday when I spoke to you, you did mention that you are feeling confident in a lot of your matchups, including ZvZ. Coming into today's matchup against Zanster, is there any preparation you did knowing his style, or is it more that you're confident in your own ZvZ?
So the thing about Zanster is he doesn't really have a style, he does a lot of random stuff. I practice a lot with him, and I think he's one of the scariest players for me because he just mixes it up randomly. Sometimes he just doesn't think about what he does, so he just goes with the flow of the game, and that's really scary for me because usually I try to prepare for my opponents. I try to see tells where I know what they're gonna do, and with Zanster sometimes I can't do it. So this time I wanted to be a bit aggressive myself.
Well, this time it definitely worked out as it was what seemed like a very short and simple 3-0 for you. And moving forward, it's going to be a ZVP. You showed us ZVT yesterday, ZvZ today. It's going to be DNS or Showtime. So talk to us about your ZVP.
My ZVP is my best matchup since quite some time, by quite a bit as well. I'm really confident in the matchup. I don't know how Showtime plays exactly because he has been in Korea the last 2 months. Before he went to Korea, I did really well against Showtime. I'm pretty confident against DNS too, so yeah, it should be doable.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again. Great to see you back in the top 8 here. Let's head back to Nathanius.
Thank you very much, Smix, and a big congratulations to Lambo with a dominant performance in this series. Pig, I was enamored with our wonderful Twitch chat during that series, but I saw your eyes glued to this ZvZ.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such clean play from Lambo. He's so decisive, and he made a lot of those games look relatively simple and straightforward. Roddy was talking about it in the second game. You know, it was just kind of gaining edge after edge.
Yeah.
And it was piling up, and it was one of those games where you can kind of, you know, as Kev said, you're just kind of nodding and smiling, going, hey, everything's going right. I'm pretty good at this game. And that's what it looked like. And I knew Lambo was going to play well. I thought Zanster was going to take a map or two, but Lambo just steamrolling it.
Just really rolling over him. And he was talking about how BlizzCon was so important to him, and that actually moved him from 12th to 8th in the WCS standing. Now, of course, we still have the entire rest of the round of 16 to play out, so those are still going to continue to change, but that is a really big move, jumping up another 300 WCS points.
Yep, rest in pepperoni, a Laser's hopes and dreams of making it to the global finals there. Of course, there were still a bunch of other things he needed to have happen to make it through, but the first one did not go so well in his favor, and that means that he, Lambo, will be moving on into the round of 8. They were talking about it. That bracket, of course, is going to be playing against the Protoss next. We've got a PvP coming up. I know you guys have been like, wow, there's a lot of Zergs today so far, Nathan. Don't worry. I personally called in and made sure we'd have a PvP for our next series. DNS and Showtime. Quick thoughts on this match before we go to break, gentlemen.
It's going to be a fun one. DNS, you know, had his rise, had a bunch of poor performances, but recently he's back on that train. He's doing well. He's smashing it through. Showtime had a rough start to the tournament. It's going to be a very interesting intersection of two players who we had very different expectations of before the tournament. When they clash, we get to see a lot of who's going to come out and go through deep.
Nice.
Yeah, I think pretty similar thoughts. DNS has kind of had, like Pig was saying, had those ups and downs. I feel like Showtime has also had a lot of those ups and downs, but is definitely more looking on the up right now.
He's got that hype, the Korea training hype.
He does. So I really want to see how it pays off. He had a sick PvP versus Zest and GSL versus the world. And while I know some people are saying Zest maybe didn't play the best, Showtime looked super awesome in PvP. So it's going to be a tough match.
All right. That's going to be our next series coming up here. You're watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. We'll be right back with our next series.